Good day everyone, my name is Reina Fabirocha. Today I will be discussing some important provisions from the law related to Philhealth and the Universal Healthcare Act. These provisions deal with appropriations, penal provisions, and miscellaneous provisions. I will go through them section by section. First is the Chapter 9, Section 37, Appropriations. This section talks about where the government will get the money to fund universal health care. Basically, it explains the sources of funds that will support Philhealth and its programs. Sources of funds include sin tax collection, which are the taxes collected from cigarettes and alcohol that will go to Philhealth. This ensures that unhealthy products contribute to healthcare funding. Second is 50% of PAG-4 income. Profits from casinos will be transferred to Philhealth to improve health packages. Third is the 40% of charity fund from PCSO, like Lotto and sweepstakes earnings will also fund Philhealth. Next is the premium contributions of members. These are salaried employees who pay monthly Philhealth contributions, pag-ibig contributions, and any other contributions. Lastly is the annual appropriations from DOH and national government subsidy. So in short, ang Section 37 states ug asa gagikan ang mga funds nga nag-support sa Philhealth and other Philhealth programs. And also, the government makes sure Philhealth is well-funded using taxes, gaming revenues, charity funds, and contributions from members. Next is Chapter 10, Section 38, Penal Provision. This section is all about penalties for those who violate the provision of this act. First is the healthcare providers in population-based services. If they violate their contract, they face sanctions and penalties under their agreements. So if a hospital fails to provide free checkup as promised in their contract, they can be penalized or removed from the program. Next is the healthcare providers in individual-based services. So if they commit fraud, abuse authority, they could pay a fine of 200,000 per count or suspension of contract for up to 3 months. It can be also a criminal offense with imprisonment of 6 months to 6 years. So example of this, if a doctor falsified a record of a customer to get reimbursement sa Philhealth, okay, they could pay a 200,000 fine per count and also can be suspended for up to 3 months. Next is the members who commit fraud. If a Philhealth member commits fraud, like pretending to be another person to claim benefits, the penalty is 50,000 per count or suspension of benefits for 3 to 6 months. Next is the employers. Failure to register or remit contributions will have a fine of 50,000 per violation or imprisonment of 6 months to 1 year. So a company that deducts Philhealth contributions from employees that never remits them, they could penalize or they could pay 50,000 per violation. Next is the deducting employer contributions from employees' salary. They could pay a fine of 5,000 per employee affected. So if an employer passes his share of Philhealth payment on the employees illegally, they could pay a fine of 5,000 or imprisonment of 6 months to 1 year. Lastly is the Philhealth officers or employees. Misappropriation of funds using Philhealth money for personal gain will have a fine triple the amount stolen, and they could also have a 3-month suspension. So if a Philhealth employee diverts 100,000 pesos for personal use, must pay 300,000 fine plus 3 months of suspension. Second, if they commit unethical or fraudulent acts, fine of 200,000 or 3-month suspension. Approving fake claims knowingly. Third is the criminal liability. They can also face jail time of 6 months to 6 years. So in short, even Philhealth officials are not exempted. They can be penalized for abuse, fraud, or misuse of funds. Next, last chapter for my report, Chapter 11, Miscellaneous Provisions. First is the Section 39, Oversight Provision. A joint congressional oversight committee is created to regularly review the implementation of universal health care. This includes checking if BOH and Philhealth are doing their jobs properly. So example, the committee will evaluate if Philhealth funds are really reaching poor families. So the members of this Congress are 5 from Senate and 5 from House of Representatives. So agencies like PSA, NADA, DOH, and universities will help evaluate and validate reports. So the purpose of it is to ensure accountability, transparency, in implementing the law. Second is Section 40, the Performance Monitoring Division. The DOH will establish a special office to monitor and evaluate Philhealth's performance. This ensures that programs are implemented effectively and improvements are made when necessary. So if claims processing takes too long, the Performance Monitoring Division will recommend reforms. So to conclude my report, Chapter 9 explains where Philhealth gets its funds. Chapter 10 lists penalties for violations committed by healthcare providers, members, employers, and even Philhealth employees. Lastly, Chapter 11 establishes oversight and monitoring mechanism to ensure transparency and accountability. These provisions are designed to protect the integrity of Philhealth, make sure funds are used properly, and punish those who commit fraud or negligence. Ultimately, they help guarantee that every Filipino receives proper healthcare under the Universal Healthcare Law. Right. And that is all for my report.